will be touching not everything but many of the things related with EIA of water resources projects. Yes, nowadays we are concerned with the environment. Everybody, it is everybody's affair. Environment includes water, air, and land, and the interrelationship which exists among and between water, air, and land, and human beings, other living creatures, plants, microorganisms, and property. This is this definition I have taken from Environmental Protection Act, which was promulgated in the year 1986. Well, the second catchy word these days is sustainable development. Let us see what is this. It is the development that meets the needs of today without compromising the ability of future generation to meet their own needs. That means we should not be greedy. We should not be selfish. We should think of future generation also while we are constructing things. Water and environment. Now we come to water and environment. As all of us know, water is a major component of environment, and water is used for various purposes. Great civilizations grown around water. Indus Valley civilization, Miss Nile Valley civilization, and all that. Unique state, there is unique status of water, and the demand of water is increasing. A person who uses more water, the area the person is more developed. For example, the per capita use of water in India is 135 or so, whereas in US it is more than 500 liter per person per day or so. Uh, Therefore, there is pressure on water resources, and therefore there is urgent need for sustainable development. There is need for development, but as I mentioned before, there should be sustainable development. Now let us look at the global concern about environment. In ancient India, people were aware of environment, but this was not the situation in the whole of the world. Awakening started at world level in 50s, and ecological impacts were stressed upon in 60s. USA, people say it is number one country in all aspects of life. USA enacted its first act, which is called National Environmental Policy Act. In short, we say NEPA, in the year 1969. And as you know, US is leader, the other countries followed it. United Nations and international conferences with respect to EIA or environment issues. The first conference, the UN Conference on Human Environment, was held at Stockholm in June 1972, and many things were discussed. Awareness programs were run, and people were made aware of the fact that we cannot compromise with the quality of environment. International Conference on Water and Environment was held at Dublin. Just a minute. Yes, please. Yes. Just a minute. Yes. International Conference on Water and Environment was held at Dublin during January 1992, and UN Conference on Environment and Development was held at Rio in Brazil during June 1992. These are the milestones in the field of EIA. Protection and improvement of environment was concerned as the major issue. Man is both creator and modeler of environment. There is a common term among civil engineers that we are the creator, and you know, wherever there is creation, there is destruction also. Wherever there is construction, there is destruction also. So what is required is we have to have a balance between the two. Pollution causes problems and environmental preservation. Underdeveloped causes eventual problems in other countries too. Environmental aspects of natural resources management. Educational aspects should also be included. Informational, social, and cultural aspects of environmental issues should also be addressed, and that is what we focus in education. At school education, environment should be taught. The aspects of environment should be taught. Development and environment should be complementary to each other, and they should not be conflicting to each other. Uh, some of the major points from Dublin Conference, which was held during January 1992, are as follows here. Fresh water source is finite, and it is essential for sustenance of life. Water resources development and management to involve users, planners, and policymakers. Women's role is very important in water resource management, and we will see in other slides also. I have focused a lot on women's role in water resource management. Water has economic use in competing environment. Economic use in competing environment. Say industrial use, say drinking water use, say irrigation use, say hydropower use, and many other things. And therefore, water has to have a decision with respect to competing environment. Now coming to environmental awareness in India. People in ancient India, as I mentioned before, were alive, and even now people are alive towards environmental issues. We worship our Mother Earth, as well as we worship many of the stars and other gods related with water and environments. Environment and health concerns integrated into social, religious, and cultural customs. Very recently, in the country, the Chhat Parv was celebrated, and this is one of the ways to worship the god of energy, the god of light, Surya. And this is celebrated on the bank of the river in ponds and tanks. Therefore, we are concerned about water and environment. Festival timed according to seasons. As we know, there are festivals which are timed according to seasons in this country, and seasons are related with environment. And 5 elements of nature are treated as gods, as we know. A river is treated as mother, Ganga Mata, Jamuna Mata, and so on. Well, India is facing a 3P problem. Population. There is too much population. I have visited several countries in the world, but the crowd I have not seen anywhere else than in India. Even in China, although population is more, but they have planned development. But in our case, it is zigzag. It is with lot of if and but. It is with lot of hindrances. The development is made here. And pollution. What is the situation in capital Delhi, at Patna, and many other cities of the country? There is air pollution problem, there is water pollution problem, and so on. And finally, poverty is also an be a very important issue. Poverty is a very important issue for the country, and therefore, if we are able to solve these three problems, P, then we can solve all the problems faced by the country. Coming to old saying, we say Jal hi Jeevan hai. Water sustains plants, plants sustain life. Therefore, we can say, we can derive a conclusion that water is life. So, we have discussed till now was about water in general. Now, let us talk about water resource projects in particular. Environment and social aspects are major concerns in any river valley projects. What is required is proper rehabilitation of displaced people, canal bank plantations, trees along reservoir periphery, and in order to achieve those things, we have few important acts in the country. For example, Forest Conservation Act 1980, Environmental Protection Act 1986, National Water Policy 1987, and so on. Well, water is one of the most essential natural resources. I think nobody can deny. We have just concluded that water is life. And its a quantity, the quantity of water is limited and it is scarce also. In olden days, we saw Bisleri bottle as early as in the year 1988-87. And we are laughing at those Europeans who used to come to Patna and used to take water from bottle. Nowadays, even a rickshawala is using bottled water for drinking purposes. Now, coming to share of water in irrigation, it is and it was more than 80%. Still now, it is more than 70% uh, for irrigation purpose of all the water available for use. And people expect, because of conflicting demand of water, because of increasing population, this proportion may go down up to 69% by the year 2050. With increasing population, urbanization and industrialization, serious competition of water demand between agricultural use and non-agricultural sectors will be there, and we have to face that. Therefore, what should be done? Water management and improvement in the performance of water resources projects is required. Then how much water is available? Annual food grain requirement of the country will be around 450 million ton by 2050. That means we have to increase the production of food in the country. And one of the essential requirement for production of food is irrigation water. So let us see the present status of irrigation. Agriculture is the prime source of livelihood for more than 50% of the population. Rather, this is a lower figure. Still now, around 60% of population uh, is based on agriculture. Irrigation is a vital input in agricultural productivity and agricultural growth. Food grain production has increased 5 times since independence, but still we have to increase it. Why we have to increase? Because our population is rising very fast. What is ultimate irrigation potential? By the way, ultimate irrigation potential, we should know what is irrigation potential. Once we develop a project, that means we have reservoir, we have main canal, branch canal, other canal system, primary system, secondary system, tertiary system, then water course. and outlet. So if we have constructed everything, we say the irrigation potential has been created. But nowadays, due to political compulsion, what happens if the main canal is complete, if the branch canal is complete, if the reservoir is complete, people say the project has been created. But that's not a correct statement. Its accessories, its ancillary works are to be completed, like outlets, lining of canals, and so on and so forth. And therefore, what has been seen is there is a large gap between irrigation potential created and that being utilized. We will see all these aspects later on. Major and medium projects, out of this 139.9 million hectares, major and medium projects has the contribution of 58.5 million hectares. Minor projects in two parts, surface water and groundwater, 17.2 million hectares. For minor projects, it is 64.2 million hectares. And if you add major and minor projects, the potential created is around 102.77 million hectares. This figure is up to a 10th plan. However, the ultimate irrigation potential is 139.9 million hectares. So now let us see the scenario. What is the potential utilized by now up to 10th plan? It is 87.23 million hectares. So there is a large gap, roughly around 20% gap is there between irrigation potential created and that being utilized. Okay. Coming to amount of water, that was about land. The India's share is 4% of world's water, whereas land share is just 2%. On the other hand, we have to support 17% of the world's population. So this contrast is too much. 2% of land, 4% of water, and 17% of population. Now see the situation. Availability of water is not uniform. We can't say in the whole of the country we have uniform availability of water. We will see in the later on slides the space wise, the time wise variation of water in the country. It is highly uneven in space in time. Rainfall, the average rainfall of the country is 1170 millimeter per annum, which includes the maximum amount in Meghalaya, 11,000 millimeter per annum, and the minimum amount from western Rajasthan, which is around say 100 millimeter per year. This slide shows the spatial variation of rainfall. We can see the darker area has maximum amount of rainfall. The Western Ghat, the northeast area, and some portion of here Jammu and Kashmir, that area. And accordingly, we can see what is the situation. This one, the white portion, has the minimum amount of rain. This is below 15. The things are in centimeter. That means it is unevenly distributed with respect to time and space. Temporal variation of rainfall. We can see from this slide, look, the availability of water during winter season is so small. The availability of water during pre-monsoon season, it is slightly more. The maximum we receive during monsoon season, that is from June to September. And normally in our country, in eastern part of India, the rainy season is considered from 15th of June to 15th of October, around 4 months. And again, post-monsoon season, it is less than what we have pre-monsoon season. This is the situation of temporal variation of rainfall. If we add all total precipitation, including snowfall, is around 4,000 kilometer cube. The rainfall during 3 to 4 months of monsoon is around 3000 kilometer cube. So you can see 75% of the rain occurs during the rainy season. Even this availability of water is not uniform and is highly uneven in both space and time. And therefore, what is required? It is necessary to store monsoon flows. Land and water should be put to optimum use to support agricultural production through water resource development. That means we have established the fact by now that there is a need for development of water resources projects. And I have said whenever there is a construction, there is destruction also. And therefore, we have to make a balance between the two. The same thing which I have discussed before is given in numeric form here. The unit is billion cubic meter. Total precipitation in the country is this much, 4,000. Total water availability is 1,869. However, all the water is not utilizable. The utilizable water is 1123 billion cubic meter. Out of that, 690 is from surface water and 433 billion cubic meter is from groundwater. That is the situation. The same thing has been shown basin wise. Basin wise water resource potential. We can see here the two major basins of the country are Ganga and Brahmaputra and Barak, and others are relatively small. And you can see the most utilized basin is the Ganga basin of the country. And other basins figure are as mentioned here. The billion cubic meter, if you add all, it will be as it's given there. How much? We can see there. Total water availability 1869. It will come to that figure. Then basin wise utilizable surface water resources are as given here. Am I audible, sir? Hello? Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. But you can interact if there is any problem. Okay?
Yes, sir, fine.
Okay. Basin wise utilizable surface water resources is as given here. Here again we see the maximum utilizable water resource comes under Ganga. And by seeing the situation of Ganga, we say we are surplus in water. It's not true. Kaveri dispute is a glaring example of shortage of water. Even we have disputes in Son Command area among three states, UP, MP, and Bihar. There are unresolved issues. Land use of the country. Total geographical area 328.73 million hectares. Total cultivable land 179.68 million hectares. Net area shown 141.89 million hectares. Net irrigated area is around 60.20 million hectares, and net rain-fed area is 81.69 million hectares. What is important is the last line here, rain-fed area. Even if we achieve the 100% irrigation potential creation, still some area, and that area is a big area, around 1/3 of the cropped area will remain under rain-fed agriculture. So we have to have technology also to enhance the production under rain-fed agriculture also. This figure shows the growth of irrigation in the country, and there are two charts. One, the blue one is for medium and major river projects, river valley projects. Or what is medium, what is major, and what is minor? Let me explain. The minor irrigation project is a project with command area less than 2000 hectare. The medium project is a project with the command area more than 2000 but less than 10,000 hectares. Major irrigation project is a project with command area more than 10,000 hectares. So this is the growth. And you know, the growth was fast initially. We can see the slope, and then the slope has decreased here. That means till 80s, there was focus on irrigation potential creation. After 80s or late 80s, the focus has changed to water management, effective water management, effective utilization of water resources. You know, in early 80s, 13 Valmis were established in the country in major states of the nation. And I had a chance to work at Valmi Patna for around 10 years or so. And I had a chance to work at Valmi Aurangabad, which is regarded as the best Valmi among all, for around 6 months in connection with the training program on water management. Now we come to system performance. When I say system performance, I mean irrigation system, I mean water resource system. Uh, the performance of the system will depend upon these things. Number one, project infrastructure and canal network. Have these things been completed, constructed properly or not? Hydrology. When I say hydrology, I mean the amount of water, the science of water. In hydrology, we determine the discharge and the volume of water at a particular space and location for different purposes. That is all about hydrology. So whether hydrological study has been done properly or not, that's very important. Then irrigation potential, has it been properly created or not? Then command area development. Command area stands for the area below the head regulator, the main head regulator of the project. The area which can be commanded if there is no shortage of water, that is what is called command area development. And the program which is used for different parts of the command area development comes under CAD program, and here there is a matching grant from central government and state government. And this program was started in the year 1974 or so. Then system efficiencies. There are different efficiencies, say water application efficiency, distribution efficiency, conveyance efficiency, and overall efficiency, project efficiency. So for surface irrigation projects, even for a developed nation, they are unable to achieve, or at best they achieve around 50% of efficiency. That means when we use 100 liter of water of irrigation, 50% is used by plant and 50% goes waste. That means there is a lot of chance to uh, improve our water management system. Then there is a catching word these days, conjunctive use of ground and surface water. You know, here we talk about the concept of dynamic equilibrium. What is that? During surface water use, there is buildup of water table, and during groundwater use, there is drop up of water table. So in a year, during rainy season, if we use surface water, because surface water is available in plenty during rainy season, and during rabi season or summer season, if we use groundwater, so in one season we are building up the water table, in other season we are depleting the water table if the sum total in a year is more or less maintained, more or less is maintained constant, we say the dynamic equilibrium has been formed, and that is very important if we are able to achieve dynamic equilibrium. And this can be achieved only through conjunctive use of surface and groundwater. Now the question arises, people ask normally, what is conjunctive use? Conjunctive use means when we are using water from two different sources. That is what is called conjunctive use. There is a common term here, similar term here, misleading, which is called consumptive use. Consumptive use stands for the water with the following three components. The first one is evaporation, the second one is transpiration, the third one is the water used for metabolic action. So that is consumptive use. The water used for metabolic action is very small, it is less than 1%, and therefore we normally neglect it. So what we say, evaporation and transpiration makes consumptive use for practical purposes. And so whenever we plan any system of irrigation, we concentrate on evapotranspiration. And then, lot of manpower is required for irrigation sector, and that comes under managerial issues. Now we come to environmental impacts of water resource projects. These are some of the issues: water quality, climate, soil degradation, erosion, nutrient loss, drainage, waterlogging, soil salinity and soil alkalinity, groundwater table fluctuation, ecology, which includes forests, wildlife, flora and fauna, pollution, and finally everything leads to health hazards like waterborne diseases, malaria, malaria, etc., etc. So we have to focus on these issues too. Now let us see agroeconomic impact of water resource projects. Agroeconomic impacts with reference to post-project scenario. Change in cropping pattern. As we have heard, you must have heard that in Punjab, people have started growing rice also. In previous time, 50 years back, they were good in wheat cultivation. Now they are equally good in rice cultivation also. But when we cultivate rice, lot of water is required for rice cultivation. So that changes the agroclimatic situation in the area, loss of water, waterlogging and drainage congestion and all that. Land distribution and holdings. The fragmentation of land holding is not desirable for better water. Why? Water course is the water courses should be of the length of maximum 1 kilometer, and if there is a fragmentation of holding, then what will happen? It will be zigzag. If there is zigzag, there will be lot of siltation and scoring in the canals. Use of fertilizers, pesticides, high yielding seeds, mechanization, etc. come into being once we have irrigation facility in the command area, and based on that there is agro based industries, say fruits processing plants, juice manufacturing plant, etc., etc. Not only that, dairy project, poultry project, fishery project and other livestock development projects also come under the purview of CAD, that is command area development. And finally, water management. When I say water management, I mean more crop per drop. I mean the water use efficiency should be enhanced, should be optimized. And what is water use efficiency? Kg of wheat per hectare of water, uh, and per unit of per hectare of land and per unit of water, that is to be enhanced, that is to be maximized. Productivity in the command area. When I say productivity, again it is in two terms. One is called production per unit area, and one is called water productivity, production per unit area per unit of water. That is what is to be enhanced. The second one is socio-economic impact. It depends upon many things. It is concerned with many things. Some of the issues are, as mentioned here, pattern of land holding. There may be small farmers, there may be marginal farmers, there may be large farmers, big farmers. So there is sometimes conflict among the farmers. Employment, there will be employment on farm, and there will be employment off the farm also, because when there are industries coming in the area, there will be employment of the farm also. Family income will increase, and this will come either from farm or from non-farm activities. The literacy will increase. When a person becomes well-to-do, when he is able to eat and feed his relatives, he will go and definitely send his children for education, school education. Then the next one is rehabilitation and resettlement. This point is really very important when we discuss this issue, water resource project and EIA. What is rehabilitation and resettlement? We have certain slides especially for this. We will discuss it later. Standard of living. Everybody wants, the government wants, the state government wants that the standard of their population should go up and up. And irrigation is a means to achieve that. Consumption and savings per capita. Saving per capita will increase, consumption per capita will also increase. Creation of agricultural assets like tractors, power tillers, and all that will improve. Seed processing plant, etc., will increase. Infrastructural and institutional facility will also increase in the command area, and therefore demographic impacts will also be there. What do we mean by demographic impact? People will migrate from non-irrigated area to irrigated area for want of livelihood, for want of workmanship, for want of what you say, um, yes, some kind of activities they want to be involved. Healthcare and family planning will also come once there is prosperity of the people in the area. And finally, everything leads to poverty alleviation, that is removal of poverty or eradication of poverty. In order to achieve all these things, we have to have environmental awareness programs. So let us see milestones in environmental awareness acts. As I mentioned before, these are some of the important acts promulgated in this country for the awareness of the environment. Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1974, Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Cess Act 1977, Forest Conservation Act 1980, the Environmental Protection Act 1986. These are the four important acts of the country for environmental awareness. Then let us see some of the salient points what is given in National Water Policy. This was first promulgated in the year 1987, and this is concerned with environmental and social concerns, and it emphasizes the need for integrated and multidisciplinary approach to planning and implementation of projects, including environmental and ecological aspects and rehabilitation of affected people. There is a mistake, you can correct it. Affected people. Preservation of quality of environment and ecological balance, a primary consideration in planning, implementation, and operation of the project. The Agenda 21 has certain things which are related with pollution of water. So all those things are covered, well covered in National Water Policy, except 1987, the role of women was not emphasized. The impact of climate change on water resource was not emphasized. And therefore, in the modified National Water Policy, which came in the year 2002, the role of women in water sector was well covered in the modified National Water Policy, which was promulgated in the year 2002. Now we come to the EIA process, environmental impact assessment, and how a project gets clearance. Some of the things I will touch here. Stage 1, there are different stages. In principal consent is given under this stage by a screening committee which is constituted by CWC, Central Water Commission, and it is based on broad project details. Stage 2 is environmental, forests, and all mandatory clearances. That means if you go for water resource projects, and especially major projects, we have to get environmental clearance from the Ministry of Environment, forest clearance from the Ministry of Environment and Forests, because they are twinned, and therefore there is same ministry for both the things. Stage 3, techno-economic clearance by Technical Advisory Committee under MOWR, that stands for Ministry of Water Resources, and it is based on detailed examination of DPR, that stands for Detailed Project Report, which is sent by different stakeholders, or that is in this case a state government. Now, what is the environmental clearance procedure? There is a list of 29 types of projects which require environmental clearance. So first we have to check whether the project comes under that or not. Obviously, irrigation project comes under that. If the answer is yes, then the second step is to go for public hearing. The public should not be kept in dark. Otherwise, in future stage, there may be turmoil, there may be public unrest. Here, I would like to quote an example from Ethiopia. There is a project called Amibara project. It is run of the river project. That is, it is with a weir. The project is with a weir. Now, what happened? The local population were fond of having cattle, and that was their means of survival. The cattle used to graze the land. When the project came, then the state government started cultivation, and these grazers, गरेरिया लोगों ने क्या किया, इस सारे जानवर को उसमें छोड़ दिया खेत में. There was a lot of social unrest. They said, we don't want your project. We want our land for grazing purpose only. And therefore, public hearing becomes important. The public contribution, the public consent is very important when we go for any projects. And ultimately, what they did in Ethiopia, they had meetings, series of meetings. They tried to convince the farmers, they tried to convince the local people, and then they were convinced, and the issues were settled after a few years. The next step is review by expert committee of Ministry of Environment and Forest. Then this EC Economic Committee recommends, and then Ministry of Forest and Clearance, Ministry of Environment and Forest clears a project from environment and forest point of view. Project cleared or comments are sent within 90 days. Everything can be seen on the website of the Ministry of Forest and Environment. Any project personnel can see it, and if the result doesn't come out within 90 days, it is presumed that the project was cleared. Project is deemed to be approved. Now, what are the documents required with the project proposal? Environmental appraisal questionnaire as prepared in the Schedule 2 of EIA notification. Feasibility or project report, EIA, EMP. EIA stands for Environmental Impact Assessment, and EMP stands for Environmental Management Plan. Site clearance. Sometimes the project is sanctioned and the land has not been acquiesced. That creates problem. There should be site clearance. No objection certificate from the State Pollution Control Board, State Environmental Department, local authorities. Then rehabilitation plan, where large scale development of people is anticipated. What is this rehabilitation plan? Again, I will discuss after a few slides. Procedure for seeking environmental clearance of the projects. Project proponent, I mean जो project बनाता है, submits an application to the Department of Environment, state government dealing with the environment in the performa given in Schedule 2. A notice for environmental public hearing is issued by the State Pollution Control Board. The concerned State Pollution Control Board issues NOC, no objection certificate, after completing environmental public hearing. So impacts. In the public hearing, people should know what type of impacts will be there. There are two impacts. One is during construction phase and one is during operation phase of the project. The impacts may be adverse also. So people should know what are the plus points of the project and what are the negative points of the project also. Construction phase. During construction phase, the beneficial impacts are as mentioned here: socio-economic, employment, better housing, or better land. The price of the land goes up when we have irrigated area. Infrastructure development is there, roads come, communication improvement is there. Nowadays, everybody has mobile and all that. Even in old times, when there is irrigation system, there is communication system, it is there. Biotic improvement, complementary afforestation is done, and therefore it improves the biotic system. Improvement of degraded forest. If the forest is degraded, so it is improved. Green belt on the periphery of the reservoir. What is this green belt? On the reservoir, there is highland, and if we plant trees on this highland, on the periphery of the reservoir, this will work as green belt. Construction phase adverse impacts: socio-economic, displacement of people. loss of monuments, if there is any. Biotic, submergence of forest land, and effects on flora and fauna. Flora stands for uh, insecticides, birds, and all that. Fauna stands for animals like hyena, tiger, and all that, wild pig. Then operational phase beneficial impacts are under two categories: socio-economic and biotic. Under socio-economic, increased or improved uh, crop production, power generation. It may be there, it may not be there. Nowadays, people are generating power as micro power plant, hydropower plant at the falls, the canal falls also. Water supply scheme may be there. Groundwater recharge will be there. Flood moderation will be there once we have reservoir project. And obviously, when there is irrigated command area, agro industry will come, and tourism will also develop. There are certain sites. Have you heard of Bindavan Garden? It is a water resource project head work, and it is a center of tourism. It is center of tourism. Similar sites are constructed here and there. In Python Dam near Aurangabad, a similar music and light system has been arranged, and that attracts biotic, increased aquatic life. Afforestation will be there, and migratory birds will come. You know, if there is water, birds from the surrounding area will come into that particular area. Even from different countries, birds visit. Operation phase, adverse impact, physical impact, water logging and salinity. What is water logging? Water logging is the accumulation of excess water or free water in the root zone of the crop. And what is salinity? Salinity stands for the anything dissolved in water. If it is more than an amount, we say and we call the water is saline or the land is saline. And what is that level? It is 4 millimole per centimeter at 25 degrees centigrade. The second one is changes in water quality and sediment load downstream side. When the water travels, it takes not only soil but the salts present in the soil also along with it. Now, depending upon the type of the soil and the type of the salt present in soil, the water may become saline or alkaline. Biotic, increased aquatic weeds, जहां पर रिजर्वायर होता है आसपास में एक्वेटिक वीड्स बहुत ज्यादा जन्म जाते हैं जिसको कि हटना कठिन हो जाता है. दैट इज वन ऑफ द एडवर्स इम्पैक्ट्स. Spread of waterborne diseases. Here again, I would like to quote an example. In Ethiopia, the public sentiment is that they do not like reservoir projects. You know why? Because they say that if we have reservoir project, there will be always a lake or a pond or a reservoir, and thereby the mosquito breeding will be there, and they are afraid of the disease, malaria, yellow fever, and these diseases come in the come under the category of waterborne diseases, and therefore they simply revolt if you go for a reservoir project. So in Ethiopia, most of the projects are run of the river projects. There is no reservoir. Only during rainy season, the water is uplifted and transferred to fields. And this is one of the reasons, as you have heard, there is a lot of variation in the water availability in the state of Ethiopia. And you know, they don't have reservoir projects, and therefore they don't have insured irrigation. It is mostly based on rain-fed agriculture, and therefore they have now and then, here and there, in parts of the country, always drought in one part or other part of the country. This is the basic reason. I have visited whole of the country, and I have found out that based on my experience. And finally, it is deterioration of water quality. As I mentioned, the soil quality also deteriorates, the water quality also deteriorates, and we have to consider these things closely. Now, as I mentioned before, let us see in detail, slightly in detail, resettlement and rehabilitation. In short, we call it R&R. R&R is a sensitive issue, a human problem. Various R&R measures taken even in earlier river valley projects were taken in earlier river valley projects. National policy for R&R is under formulation in the country. Objective of R&R: oustage should enjoy a better quality of life at place of resettlement. Oustage means those who will be removed from the reservoir area, from the project area. They should enjoy a better life that is to be ensured by the project proponent. And that is the crux of rehabilitation and resettlement. Oustage, for the betterment of the oustage, NGOs should be associated with the work related with resettlement and rehabilitation. Management of major environmental impacts, waterlogging. This is a very important impact, adverse impact of water resources projects. Generally, projects this is projected as a major negative environmental impact of water resource projects. Water level may be due to canal irrigation or other natural causes. Management measures like drainage improvements are adopted in order to combat with the problem of waterlogging. Sedimentation, this is another issue, a natural process. Water resource projects do not contribute to increase in sediment inflow in rivers. But if the project is not well designed, if the canal water has scoring velocity, not well constructed, then it may cause at some place erosion, at some place sedimentation. Provision is kept in all reservoirs, coming to reservoirs for dead storage for sediments. Because in reservoir, the velocity of the water decreases, the carrying capacity of the water for sediment decreases, and thereby they are dumping the sediment in the reservoir area, and slowly the level of the earth in the reservoir area, level of the ground in the reservoir area increases. Therefore, provisions are kept in all reservoirs in the form of dead storage for sediments. Remedial steps to reduce sediment inflow in rivers is done through the process of soil conservation and watershed treatment taken up in the upper catchment of a project. EIA process. I will just mention the salient points here. It has different components, and these are called screening, scoping, rapid and comprehensive EIA, mitigation measures, environmental management plan, environmental impact assessment, and post clearance monitoring. Rapid and comprehensive EIA. Rapid EIA, first level indication of pollution. Readily available data are generated in this particular case. Comprehensive EIA, inputs from rapid EIA, and steps are, as mentioned here, identification, prediction, and evaluation. EIS, Environmental Impact Statement. What is this? It is a gist of the whole exercise for clearance and for general public. Resources needed for EIA. Who should do EIA? A person alone cannot do the process of EIA. What we need is qualified multidisciplinary team. When I say multidisciplinary team, we need agriculturists, we need soil scientists, we need hydrologists, we need ecologists, and so on. We need sociologists and so on. Data about project and surrounding ecosystem are required. Analytical instruments, nowadays we have many models. We have to use those models, and there should be a wing for institutional arrangement. You will be surprised to know that there are people like CMPDIL at Ranchi which undertakes such projects. Say NIH Roorkee also undertakes such project on contract basis, that I will get your project cleared for EIA, and then you have to pay this much. So like that, institutional arrangements are also made sometimes. For EIA, there are various methodologies. I will just mention the name: ad hoc, based on checklist, based on matrix system, network system, overlays, environmental impact index, and cost benefit analysis. So EIA can be assessed by using any of these methods, Ad hoc method, one or two method, let us see. Broad area of possible impacts are identified, and the nature of the impacts is quantitatively assessed. Advantage of this method: it can be easily applied since it generally consists of statements of data requirements without outlining the causes the caused by a project, because outlining the reasons caused by a project. Disadvantages: no assurance of the identification of the comprehensive set of all the relevant impacts. A lack of consistency in the analysis due to the lack of specific guidance, and inefficiency inherent in identifying and assembling a panel for each impact assessment. These are the drawbacks of the method. Cost benefit analysis. So I thought to take first and last. It is an ideal EIA methodology. The difficulty encountered in the use of this technique is, of course, that impacts have to be transformed and stated in explicit monetary terms, and everything cannot be converted into monetary terms, like quality of life. Can you say in numbers? Can we match with numbers? It is difficult. Process of public hearing. How public hearing is conducted? Project proponent submits executive summary to State Pollution Control Board. The State Pollution Control Board issues notice for public hearing, also invites written comments. Written and oral comments discussed during public hearing. Clarifications given by project proponents and consultants on behalf of the project components. Public perceptions for and against project heads are discussed. It should be R. Report on public hearing is submitted to state government, and it forms the part of EIA and EMP as mentioned before. Composition of public hearing panel. It consists of the following personnel: district collector or his nominee as chairman, representative of State Pollution Control Board, representative of state government dealing with the subject, representative of Department of State Government dealing with the environment, not more than 3 representatives of the local bodies such as municipalities or panchayats. Not more than 3 senior citizens of the area nominated by the district collector. Access to executive summary. As I said, the executive summary is kept at public places so that common people can have access to this. District collector office, district industry office, in the office of the chief executive officers of the Jila Parishad or commissioner of the municipal corporation, local body, as the case may be, etc. It is kept for the benefit of the people. They should know it. Role of CWC in environmental clearance. C stands for Chief Engineer. EMO, Environmental Monitoring Organization, is member of expert committee. MEO or Director EIA is important facility. हेलो
पर आप
आवाज
दे दो
आवाज ठीक आ रही है? कुछ गड़बड़ तो नहीं है आपकी तरफ से? आप लोग मुट रहे हैं?
नहीं सर, कंटिन्यू सर.
ओके. CWC representative effectively counter unnecessarily objections. It has been seen and it is said by project proponents. Project benefits of the scheme, guide project proponents, they do, the CWC does that. An important link between CWC and expert committee, that is the job of CEMO. Same thing continues. There are certain examples. Role of CWC in environmental clearance. Mantudlu hydroelectric project, it is in Meghalaya. The river water was acidic, pH was between 3 to 4 in lean season. Why? Due to unauthorized mining. The executive committee member were apprehensive about impact on hydropower plant equipment. The CWC addressed these organizations, CEA, CSMRS, BHEL, etc., and opined about the problem, and then based on their comments, the project was cleared. And this is one example how CWC is involved in project clearance. The second project is Bansagar Canal project in UP. Canal proposed through wildlife sanctuary. EC members were apprehensive of this. The director EIA visited canal alignment, found no wildlife existed. The area was completely dry. Canal needed even for wildlife, and therefore members were convinced and the project was recommended for clearance. Some small examples I quoted. Then future perspectives. What is going on? What is in future? What we are going to do? Now there is a slogan. Now there is a debate between large project and a small project. There are people who want to have large project. There are people who want to have a small project. They say small is beautiful, but always it is not true. Surface, there is a struggle between surface project, surface water resource project, and ground water resource project. Again, there is conflict between the two. There are legal provisions. Interinstitutional collaborations are required, like possible areas of collaboration, resettlement and rehabilitation, submergence of forest, waterlogging, pisciculture, etc., etc. Same thing continues. Watershed management, water quality management. What is watershed? I think you know. This is nothing but catchment area. When the catchment area is small, we call it watershed. Climate related issues, health aspects, flora and fauna, reservoir induced seismicity. We will discuss it later. This is also a very important issue. Reservoir induced seismicity. Management of wetlands. What is wetland? Wetland is the area where there is at least 6 millimeters of standing water throughout the year. Such an area is called wetland area. Gender issues, the role of women in cultivation, the role of women in irrigation can never be ignored. We will see it later. There are legal issues and child empowerment. Environment. If there is irrigation, uh, the people will become prosperous. They will send their child to school, and thereby literacy rate will increase. Role of NGOs, we cannot ignore it. NGOs have important role in the aspect of rehabilitation and resettlement. Data collection, the NGO can be involved in data collection also, and whenever there is a project, it gives us ample chance for research and education. Role of women becomes important. It should never be neglected. And development of city waterfronts, and this is very common. I think you people uh, must have visited the river waterfront at Sabarmati Ashram. Have you seen it, sir? Everybody? And this is very famous. And after that, in many other rivers it has been done, at Allahabad, at Banaras, at Patna also. The river waterfronts have been developed as a part of a smart city, and that is good venture for tourism. Large versus small dams. Un, uh, uh, Unsubstantiated argument is there. The submergence due to a single large reservoir, more than that from a number of small reservoirs for same storage. What people advise, without clear cut study, that the submerged area from a large reservoir will be more than that from a number of small reservoirs with the same amount of storage. But this point is conflicting, and it has to be checked thoroughly before we can argue like this. For example, the study of Jong sub-basin in Mahanadi, two alternatives were considered. The first, Girina Dam, with the storage of 603 million meter cube. The second, to reduce the storage at the Girina to 185 million meter cube, with 8 other small dams to store a balance of 418 million meter cube. The second alternative, though 150% costlier than the first one, and also involve 60% more submergence. Therefore, calling that the small dams will replace large dam is not correct always. That's my submission as civil engineer. Large volumes of water lost by evaporation in small reservoirs. When the area becomes more, the rate of evaporation is more. When the depth becomes more, which is the case with large reservoir, the evaporation is less. Large dams have carryover capacities. It is an incentive against drought, serves as insurance in case of droughts. Here I mentioned the examples from Ethiopia, which is struggling with drought. You know the region, as I said, they have small projects, and all the projects are either medium or small projects, and none of the projects is a reservoir project. That is what I mean to say. Benefits like pollution-free hydropower and mitigation against floods are the added attractions favoring big dams. When we go for big dams, not only irrigation is possible, other aspects are also possible, like control of flood, generation of hydropower, etc. etc. At certain places, site conditions not uh, favorable for constructing large dam. This may be there. If this is the case, then we will go for small dams. If the what you say, the bearing capacity of the area, the 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 permeability of the land is not suitable for reservoir, we will not go for big project, we can go for small projects. Discrete, so we conclude here in this slide that discrete combination of large and small dams are needed. You can't say we should have only large dams, or you can't say we should have only small dams. Rather, I should say we should have combination of large dams and combination of small dams too. Then the second dispute which is argued these days is surface versus groundwater, surface water versus groundwater. While large portion of groundwater resources remain untapped, overexploitation is a matter of concern in both rural and urban areas. Overexploitation be regulated through legal provisions. Model groundwater bill formulated by Ministry of Water Resources to help state governments in enacting suitable legislation. And these days, all the state governments are coming up with groundwater exploitation schemes also, the regulations also to control the 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 reduction in the water level in the field. Central Groundwater Authority, constituted consequent upon a Supreme Court judgment for regulation of exploitation of groundwater. And as you know, this authority, in short, we call it CGWB, is is working in almost all the states of the country. Resettlement and rehabilitation, work pertaining to resettlement and rehabilitation beset in many difficulties, as it is a human problem. This is a touchy problem, so we have to be cautious. A major problem, shifting of tribal population used to a particular way of living, like grazing. I mentioned one example from Africa. Difficult for them to adjust to modified ways of life, like irrigation, and that too at a new place. So um, we have to pursue with them. We cannot dictate them. Another common problem, preparation of detailed R&R, resettlement and rehabilitation plans and their implementation. Master plan well drawn upon but not implemented properly. That is what is happening. Reason is implementation of R&R plan by civil authorities while funding is by project proponents. Fund is from project proponent and the R&R plan is done by civil authorities. So there is no proper tuning between the two organizations. Implementation of R&R plan needs coordination between engineers and civil authorities. Submergence of forests. This is again an emerging area, the new area, the important area for EIA. Irrigation projects normally irrigates area 3 to 30 times larger than area submerged. This is one very important statement. Biomass lost through submergence is far smaller than biomass generated by irrigation. Therefore, we should go for irrigation projects. No conclusive studies has been done regarding the loss of biomass due to irrigation projects vis-a-vis that generated through the irrigation project. And this is an area of study. Researchers can work in this area in future. Such studies possible are possible jointly by CWC with institutes like FRI, Dehradun, and similar other institutions like IITs and NITs and NIH of the country. Water quality, this is another issue. Rapid urbanization and industrialization during last few decades increased use of water and pollution, deteriorating water quality, rivers and other water bodies. The reduced flow in natural streams due to storage and diversion schemes also contribute to this problem. Increased irrigation and consequent draining of agrochemicals into water bodies, another major concern. Issues related to water quality, therefore, is gaining importance. Water quality management. The water quality management is a complex issue and may need the following actions: data collection, implementation of polluting sources, adoption of management measures, strict implementation of existing legislation, adoption of strategies like polluters pays in principle. Polluters should pay. Climate related issue. This is another issue and very common issue. Water resource projects have impact on climate in their vicinity. Irrigation increases moisture content in the surrounding air, leading to slight increase in humidity but decrease in temperature due to evapotranspiration from irrigated area. However, these impacts are reported to be very insignificant. Also, issues related to impact of climate change on water resources included as one of the seven prong areas proposed for freshwater sector in the agenda. Climate related issues, we continue. Need for extensive research in this area, as information already available on the subject is very little and inconclusive. This research can form a collaborative effort between CWC, NIH, Roorkee, Indian Meteorological Department, academic institutions, and research organizations. Waterlogging, another issue. Regarding waterlogging, another aspect requires attention is waterlogging. The extent of waterlogging area in the country and its temporal variation is yet to be firmed up. The various institutes dealing with the remote sensing can collaborate with the organizations mentioned above in this area. Then, as I said, we will discuss this issue also, reservoir induced seismicity. There is a belief among common people that whenever there is a reservoir, the earthquake will come. This is not true. There is no direct linkage between reservoir and seismicity or earthquake. RIS has been, it has not been proved so far. One example from Koyna Dam in Maharashtra is very often cited in this connection, but there is no conclusive evidence to support it. However, reservoirs like Bhakra and Ramganga, although located in earthquake-prone areas, have not influenced seismicity since their impoundment. As in the case of climate-related issues, a lot of research is needed in this area, and this research can be taken up by Central Water Commission, NIH, Roorkee, academic institutions, and research organizations. Here, I would like to add one or two lines from my side. That is, look, as you know, earthquake occurs because of the movement of plates. Okay, and the movement of plate is restricted because of friction between the two plates. But once there is a reservoir water, then what happens? This water becomes as a lubricant, as a mobile, and therefore what people believe that this may help the plates to move over each other. The friction will decrease and may induce seismicity. This is a small philosophy, but yet not proved on large scale. That's my point. Gender issue, as I said before, we will discuss it in detail later on. Gender issue involved in water resource projects, especially role of women, deserves a special mention. Implementation of water resource projects does not bring about relief to the women folk by providing water nearer to their home streets, so that they need not traverse long distances on foot to fetch water. Here I would like to quote an example again from Africa. The study in Ethiopia has said that on average a village woman has to spend normally 4 hours to 6 hours just for fetching water, and that too drinking water. You can imagine, nobody considers the cause of women and they take it granted. That's not correct way. However, there is a need to involve women in a big way in various other activities of water resource development, such as participatory management, decision making process, technology improvement measures, knowledge, information,